Sony's PlayStation 5 console is very successful, and it has a ton of great games to play, but with excitement around some of the most popular ones, it's easy for some to get overlooked and overshadowed. So we're gonna call these games kind of underrated. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today on this video, 18 underrated PS5 games that will hook you instantly. So let's get started off with number 18. We have a small little Metroidvania here that packs a punch, and it's charming as all hell. So Tales of Kenzera Zhao is a beautiful platformer with colorful, dynamic areas and a lot of different movement and maneuverability. It's fun bouncing around as a little warrior in this lush jungle and stuff. The game gives you a sword, a spear, a bow, a grappling hook, all the good stuff, and just splitting your play between both ranged and melee stuff just keeps the combat interesting. And what is a pretty simple game? It's got some good boss battles, little challenge areas, and combat just feels fun and good. Everything here feels fun and good and just kinetic, and in terms of exploration, you're rewarded for where you poke around, where you explore. And it's a pretty good mix of like exploring towns, but also side-scrolling hack and slashy areas. I think what really makes the game special to a lot of people is just generally it's a heartfelt game about a son mourning the death of his father, and it's handled in a really sweet way. It's thoughtful, it's got really good animations, decent voice acting, and just the expressions here in a cartoonier game are really good, which makes the simple story feel really, really good and effective. We've shouted this game out in lots of other videos for other platforms, but still on the PS5, this is a great one to experience it on. Next over at number 17, Aliens Dark Descent. Man, this one really came out of nowhere and impressed. It doesn't seem like a surefire recipe for everyone, but if you've played this one, you know it's awesome. Essentially, it's a mix of some of our favorite things, especially video games and aliens, so we're all ears, right? Essentially, the game primarily draws inspiration from XCOM games, with the base building elements and management stuff, and then a combat system that takes more techniques from real-time with pause games like Desperados 3 and Shadow Tactics. If you love classic real-time tactics games, this one's one hell of a doozy here. It's got a decent story too. You recruit and you train your Marines and do research and all that tedious stuff, but where the game shines, of course, is actually going down to the planet and delving into these dangerous locations infested with xenomorphs. Something that's especially cool about Dark Descent is that every level you do, they're really long and they're really dangerous, and they persist even after you're done exploring them. So, if you have to abandon a level and come back to it later, your fortifications and all that stuff will stay where you left them. And the more you explore a level, the more path options you open up. The whole thing is pretty tough, but fair, and it's just a real tense, sci-fi, spooky guy game. It's impressive stuff, and it just gives such a good Aliens vibe across the board. You know, when your Marines are yelling and shouting and all that, it just looks and feels great. Coming in next, at number 16, you've probably heard us talk about this game before we recommended it, and that's Deathloop. So I think the most popular system in the world right now is the PS5, so we're shouting it out again here because so many PS5 players still have not played it. It's a great game where you play as essentially an assassin trying to break a time loop by killing these 8 visionaries all in a single day. This island where the game takes place resets every 24 hours. It's an interesting setup, and it's made by Arcane Studios, the master high immersive sim developers, and Deathloop is kind of like their spin on the genre. You know, instead of exploring one big location, the game is broken up into sections, and the multiple time loop elements just kind of add interesting dynamics that, you know, the simulation Arcane does with all their games, really. It really shines here. It's a game that's full of absurdities where the absolute craziest dumb things can happen. You can get powers, you have your guns, and you get all the freedom in the world to get the job done and get shit done however you want. Of course, the main selling point is that almost Hitman-like setup of the multiple assassinations on the same day, and it's just fun as hell. It's a game with style, personality, and great music, and it's a shame that a lot of PS5 players still haven't played it. Yes, I know I said at the start, but I'm repeating myself, play it. Next on the list at number 15, this one seems like it came and went, and that's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and I'm so glad I got this on PS5. This game is a triumph. It's awesome. So originally going in, people just, you know, figured this looked like a weird cash grab or something, just maybe to throw players off the scent of the Prince of Persia remake that at the time was in development hell or whatever the hell was going on with it. But nope, this game is cool. It's got a lot of charm. It's essentially like a nice little blend of a 2D action platformer and a Metroidvania. The combat is fluid and fun, and as you get through, it gets more and more stylish, where you're twisting around, jumping, having to use all of your abilities, and that's where the Lost Crown shines. Because you get time rewind abilities and elemental powers that are really fun to mess around with, and the game doesn't completely handhold you. It's definitely got a challenge to it. It's a nice exploration game. You, explore these large, detailed 2D environments, unlock new ability types, and fight some challenging bosses. And the whole thing is just solid-ass gameplay. It's not too long, it's nice, short, and sweet. And I mean that in the best way because, I hate to say it, but Ubisoft has a lot of baggage with their games. They take a long time to get to the actual gameplay, and Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is sweet because it pretty much just starts up immediately. This is extremely, extremely fun. And something that makes it really fun is the presentation. Like, the animations are really, really good here. The attacks and the counters and the visual special effects, just everything is gorgeous to look at, and that's why I like playing it on PS5. Next, over at number 14, we have Lost Judgment. Obviously still a spin-off of the Yakuza series. The Judgment games are well worth diving into if you're a Yakuza fan. Honestly, they're so well done. Well, yeah, not to sound sappy, but they can really stand side by side with the Yakuza games on their own merits. We figured we'd highlight the second game here, Lost Judgment, on the PS5 because it's the one more people are seemingly less likely to have played because it also seemed to have like a little bit of a lack of marketing, and there were like real-world behind-the-scenes issues that made a third game unlikely. But Lost Judgment, it's a great game. It features top-tier cutscenes and storytelling for these games. Just as much crazy melodrama and insane plot reveals as you get in those games, but they really captured like the essence here in the courtroom drama and the detective thriller. The plot isn't without its issues, like mainly one big problem, but we don't want to spoil that, but it's hard to deny that this is a hell of a ride, and fans of the Yakuza series are probably going to love it. The only real problem is that Lost Judgment is a direct sequel to, Judgment, the first game, so if you're wanting to play this one, you are going to have to start there. But you can get them both pretty easily on PlayStation systems, and the first Judgment game got a really nice PS5 special edition for next gen, and it seemed like a lot of people skipped on that one entirely. So if you're looking for more awesome gaming goodness stories, cinematics, and really good gameplay, dive into these. Now, next over at number 13, we have Pacific Drive, which is a survival exploration game where you drive your car through this constantly shifting wilderness that's really out to get you. It's a mysterious vehicle survival sim, a thing that I'd never think I would say at this point. Like, yes, it is weird. Now you're exploring this disturbing, mysterious Olympic exclusion zone and just trying to survive in this car rock adventure set in this techno nightmare sci-fi spooky world. You're a survivor who drives in, who lives out of your garage, and you take your car out, explore, gather supplies, find interesting historical artifacts, find out where stuff has gone wrong, and just try and learn more. Here's the thing. Pacific Drive's exploration is procedurally generated and constantly changing. So the road you're driving on shifts, and the world changes every time you go out. It tries really hard to give you these cool visual moments in these weird, disturbing areas that you'll remember as you constantly go out and survive and tech out your car and head back out there. Now, it does try and feel like those walk-around survival games like your Green Hell and Throws a Car In, and it's unique, but if you kind of felt tapped out on those survival-y type games, this one feels different. It's got a lot of personality, and it's just weird. Like, honestly, think like sort of like Death Stranding style vibe. Like weird Kojima thing, but with a car. That's the best way I can describe it, and it's definitely not for everyone, but we're so glad some people made a game like this. It's pretty dope. Now, next over at number 12, we have Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Now, it's been a couple of years and still people have been sleeping on this one. A small but really ambitious and really well done adventure game, clearly inspired by Team Ico or The Legend of Zelda, and it definitely gives you kind of like a PlayStation 2 adventure game vibe. But also, like the developers, also Ember Lab, they came from animation and cinematic stuff, and you can really tell here because a lot of the cutscenes could maybe pass for a Pixar movie. Like really, these little rots, these little creatures that follow you around, you collect them and they kind of help you, are adorable, and the presentation, yes, is good, but the game is awesome. You're platforming and navigating these rich, detailed fantasy forests and mountains, all these interesting environments. using your magic staff. But the combat is solid and challenging. Like, your simple staff combat evolves into something much more once you can whip out your staff into a bow to shoot things. There's some really challenging enemies and fun boss fights, and the game doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not too short or too long, but still, if you're left wanting more, there is the Anniversary Edition. So if you buy it, or if you're going to, but this year, it has a lot of extra content to it, and it's absolutely worth the full purchase price. It's a really complete game, and frankly, it's cool to see on PS5 because it is gorgeous. Coming in next, the PS5 has become like a pretty good home for multiplayer games. It's unknown if this one's gonna stand the test of time, but it's cool, so we wanted to highlight it now while people are still playing it, and that's the Finals. It's a free-to-play first-person shooter that nobody was asking for, but they gave it to us anyway, and man, it impressed us so far. I mean, it's a free-to-play game, so it's loaded with microtransactions, but you don't need to buy everything to enjoy the game. The Finals gameplay feels super innovative and super fresh. On its face, it looks like a kind of a fast-paced arena-type shooter of old, but the massive live stage element and the interactive nature of the environment just makes it nuts. So like live, huge, destructible environments, things to really mess with, things crowding the space, causing chaos, all to make your victory and getting your objective seem so hard-won that it makes the game just feel really rewarding. You can build up new environments or destroy existing ones, and there's just a real earth-shattering, bombastic feel. It really has gameplay unlike any other type of arena shooter right now, so hopefully it stays and lasts. They've been updating it so far, and it still feels pretty classic without being too ripped off by microtransaction stores and stuff, so we'll see. But again, if you haven't heard us shout out this game before in a video, check it out.
Ready to ride?
Next on the list at number 10 with the PS5, I wanted to take a minute to talk about Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. This one released in 2023, kind of quietly. It's still out there, and it is an Ubisoft formula game to the max, like straight up open world prestige game. You know, you set things up, you go to different parts of the map and do the thing. The thing is the thing here is a little bit more fun. It's climbing up big plants and magical Pandora stuff and riding mythical beasts and shooting crazy arrows and taking down these big sci-fi military bases. It's ultimately not a terrible formula at all, especially if you like the world of Avatar. Now, we're not the biggest fans of just the whole concept of Avatar here, but if you are just into this massive, wide, beautiful, lush thing, this game looks incredible, especially on PS5. The worlds themselves are nice to explore and dense, and there's a lot to see. The game does look gorgeous. It's got your classic forests with bioluminescent stuff everywhere. Of course, you can fly on Ikran. You even have the military human tech. So, you know, you start out the game, you're a lightning fast, just total Amazon-style Na'vi person sprinting with a giant machine gun that looks like a toy, and it's just a blast. It's really, this game isn't like a mind-blowing refresher revelation or anything, but it's not bad. If you just want a big-ass open-world game to explore, one you haven't played before, you know, if you've maybe scratched the itch on everything else and you want something new, this is not a bad purchase. So if you're curious, give it a check out. Next, over at number 9, if you're looking for like a good new school meets old school action game that you might have missed, and it's also got a drop-in, drop-out co-op feature, well then, check out Evil West. This one here came to us from Flying Wild Hog. They're the developers behind really good underrated sleeper hits, Shadow Warrior games, and Trek to Yomi. Those are undeniably awesome games, but here with Evil West, you get to play as Jesse Rentier. He is essentially a vampire hunter from this government vampire apocalypse thing set in the Wild West. He's got some abilities, some crazy weapons, a massive power gauntlet, and you're going up against vampires, werewolves, all the good stuff as you're moving left to right and fighting big group battles with lots of fun weapons. So you've got like your standard dodge, roll, and punch moveset, but then you have really cool weapons, like a rifle that's good for taking shots at a distance or popping dudes back on their asses. You have special new weaponry. It's got really visceral and rewarding impact, and that's what makes this game so good. The combat is just great. The presentation is decent. It's not like an overbloated game, you know? It just gets you to this gameplay relatively quickly, and it's just fun. Hit after hit, as you're going through different environments, fighting different enemies, it pulls you by the nose in the best way possible. It's just an exciting thrill ride action fest. Again, like we said, it feels like old school action, but with new school things.
You put a stop to this nonsense right now!
Coming in next at number 8, Bugsnax is a cool game you need to play. Now, it released a couple years back, and it looked like just a weird, cutesy thing, but no, it is definitely more than that. So, from the people who made Octodad, Bugsnax is a cartoony adventure featuring a lot of strange bug food creature things that you find on an island and a lot of weird philosophical implications. So you play as this grumpus reporter person traveling to this island to investigate the titular Bugsnax and see what this scientific fellow, Elizabeth Megafig, has been up to. Now, she's missing, and it's up to you to track down her crew by finding them, figuring out what they're up to, what their problem is, and then feeding them Bugsnax. And to feed them the Bugsnax or whatever the hell, because the game is weird, it's up to you to explore and capture these various Bugsnax across the island. First of all, they're fun to discover. They have weird names. It's a fun, cutesy adventure. Like, it almost kind of feels like a Pokemon Snap type thing in some ways. And each Bugsnax is like its own little puzzle to solve. Some you bait into traps or trick them into freezing themselves or something. They're strange little beasts, and it's just an absolute pleasure to explore and find them all. But then also, it's strange and weird, and by the time you finish the game, you're really, really gonna want a sequel to see where the heck they take this story next. It's on PS5. A lot of people haven't played it, and I definitely suggest doing so. Now, next over at number 7, if you're looking for like a tight action RPG gameplay experience with an emotional gripping story, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is just kind of sitting there on the store waiting for you to try it out. So from the makers of the underrated vampire game, Vampire and Remember Me, the action game, and yes, even the guys who made the original Life is Strange, these are competent video game developers. It's a French studio, don't nod, and here they're back with kind of similar storytelling and the choice-oriented stuff of Vampire. Here, you're playing as a ghost hunter named Red Mac Wraith, and the story opens with you with a very severe wound, and you watch your love die right in front of you. So soon after that, Red realizes that his beloved partner, Antea, is a ghost that's kind of stuck to him, and they have to figure out what the hell happened, fight these ghost people, and fight demons and banish them and save souls with an interesting banishing mechanic that's like a trigger-pulling thing. It's cool. And it's got this kind of slower combat that's not quite hard and grueling like a FromSoft type game, but still fun. Has some abilities, power-ups, regular moves, and weapons with some rewarding exploration and a good story. Essentially, it's like if they took what they did with Vampire and went a little bit more hardcore with the gameplay, it nails it. And also, it's like a good exploration game with good side quests that have like meaningful choices and decisions, and the choices and decisions are good. The environments are gothic and interesting. It's a cool ghost hunting game, and frankly, there aren't a ton of those out there, so check this one out. Next on the list at number 6, we have Not for Broadcast. This is a complicated game to try and describe because, well, at least it's nothing like anything else out there right now. You can call Not for Broadcast a television simulator, but that's really simplifying it. In reality, it's a dystopian nightmare of propaganda, makeshift music videos, and absolutely bonkers comedy madness. Essentially, you're a lowly technician trying to operate a broadcast room and keep a news program from going off the rails. You never leave your seat. The entire game is played from one solitary stationary console, but the job doesn't stay simple because of the weird world and the increasingly strange and sinister world going on around this broadcast on your monitors. The premise is simple: change cameras so audience ratings stay high or the people at the news station stay happy or whatever, but reality shows go off the rails with unexpected scenarios. And news broadcasts reveal more about the truly devious political going-ons behind the scenes. And what's really interesting is like how much you show or don't show can change where the story goes. The story is presented in entirely full motion video, and it swings from just absolutely zany to really, really dark, and yet it kind of insidiously gets more and more addictive because, you know, at the end of the day, it's an arcadey style game once you get the hang of it. It's a very strange and unique game that you're either in love with or you have to acknowledge, yeah, it might not be for you if you don't like weird, obscure games, but if you're looking for weird and obscure this year, this was a good one to find. Now, next over at number 5, we have Still Wakes the Deep. A horror game made by the people behind Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and the Amnesia games. If that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Essentially, here, you're playing as Kaz McCleary, a roughneck working on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean in the 1970s when disaster strikes, and he has to evacuate the team and deal with some crazy, eldritch secrets that have been unleashed on the rig. What makes this game different from, say, another Outlast or another jump scare type game is that it really grounds itself in something more real and authentic, and I think that actually makes the scary moments shine a little bit more. Now, the presentation is really good. It's not a huge game. It's more like one of those little kind of horror experiences, but it's got a unique setting in that oil rig. And the atmosphere here feels really immersive. It looks good on PS5, gritty and dirty, with kind of like realistic human characters shouting at each other. It's got good audio design as well. It's a top-shelf horror game with good pacing. Yes, it also doesn't overstay its welcome. The fact that it's a little bit of a shorter game makes it really worth diving into, especially if you love horror games, just for the Lovecraftian horrors and the unfortunate victims trying to survive and seeing how it shakes up the formula a little bit. It's still absolutely worth playing on your PS5. If you missed this one, maybe wait for a sale because, you know, it's a little bit of a short experience, but it's a good one. Next on the list at number 4, we have Midnight Suns. Yes, people stopped talking about it, but Midnight Suns is a fantastic strategy game filled with Marvel superhero spectacle. If something like XCOM can be translated to comic books, superheroics and stuff, the devs here at Firaxis have pulled it off because Midnight Suns makes combining Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Magic, and the X-Men, Spider-Man, and Blade all into the same working team fighting evil scientists, demons, monsters, and more, all while still staying a well-balanced tactical game. Seriously, the turn-based combat is just sublime. It gives you small teams, a selection of random abilities, and enemy swarms to face off against. And combining your hero's skills to solve these problems is a compelling reason to get to the next fight. And you have a great base, a great character creator. You choose your own hero for some weird reason, but it works out really well. You have that huge base filled with all the heroes you can hang out with. So if you wanted to give Iron Man training with Captain America or sneak around and hear what kind of crazy banter Blade has with the Hulk, there's a lot to soak in here. It seems pretty clear that at first, it seems a little jarring because they went cheaper with the voice actors. They didn't just, you know, cast the MCU people, and the visuals are nice, but you don't always see it the most in your face. But the game is good if you like strategy games, and it's Blizzard design sensibility, good strategy, good storytelling, and it's all on full display here on the PS5. If you're looking for something a little bit more brainy, check it out.
You need my help. Typhon is free.
Coming in next at number 3, we have Immortals Fenyx Rising. This one isn't quite as popular or mainstream as like your Assassin's Creed or your Ghost of Tsushima, but if you ever wanted like a mashup of all those types of games, where you have free movement, free exploration, all set in a beautiful fantasy environment based on Greek mythology. I'm describing it like all haphazardly, but still, Immortals Fenyx Rising is totally worth your time. It's a Ubisoft open world style adventure, but it is fun. It's a more cartoony adventure, balanced between kind of like some good, fun, challenging combat and tricky physics puzzles. They're not quite as challenging as Zelda Breath of the Wild puzzles, but they're definitely challenging and fun and rewarding to solve, and you're fighting all kinds of mythical creatures, and the world is very, very dense, and there's a lot to do. Sure, it does have that checkbox, you know, busy work sometimes of some of the lesser Ubisoft games, but I think here it shines through because the whole world and the weapons and stuff just feel a little bit more fun. It's like an action RPG light game in all of the best ways possible. And if you really, really manage to love it, there's a lot more you can get diving into DLC as well. All included with this PS5 version as well is a lot of updates and all good quality of life stuff. If you've been hesitant to play this game for a long time, now might be the time to give it a try. Now next on the list, we got Ghostwire Tokyo, more of a supernatural, spooky, open world style game. It's like the developers, Tango Gameworks, who did Evil Within. You would expect them to go more survival horror, but Ghostwire Tokyo is an interesting blend. It's an open world game with a lot of standard open world mechanics, but wrapped up in absolutely gorgeous replicated Tokyo after a disaster and just really unique hand animated hand movements for your first person gameplay here, because you got like hand gestures like you're doing cool magical stuff to shoot at supernatural creatures, and you have good basic combat and shooting, but also elemental type magic and powers to stop these yokai, these creatures, enemies, and this game can really throw a lot at you. So between that and offering unique things like the ability to point at random objects and find out their backstory, or the fantastically rendered world itself, Ghostwire Tokyo is a worthy choice. If you just love exploring amazing game worlds, it's worth pointing out here, like the traversal is pretty fun here. With the jump and the glide and the GTA, like the verticality, it really makes Tokyo here a fun place to get around. It perfectly captures those narrow neon alleyways and parks, and the story invokes a lot of myth and legend stuff all around the world as you're running around and trying to get rid of this evil that has turned everybody into ghosts and taken over the place. Exploring more of the game will reveal this plot, but also there's like a lot of little side stories, a lot of interesting stuff, but it's definitely one of those games you gotta check out if you're into the type of thing, man. Now finally, down to number 1. If you've watched a lot of videos, we've recommended this game a lot, but many people still have not played it. So one more time, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is a Final Fantasy game made by Team Ninja, the guys behind Nioh and the Ninja Gaiden games. And this is very much a game in the vein of Nioh. It's essentially Nioh gameplay, Souls-like gameplay, heavier, challenging, slashing, dodging, careful strategizing with your skills, but it's a Final Fantasy game. And yes, the story is insane. It's memorable, it's a little bit ridiculous, it goes full steam, but the game itself is where it shines. With full everything from multiple environments, multiple ways to play the game. You could be a melee-focused character, but one that relies more on like Final Fantasy, like monk-type fighting styles and fisticuffs. Or you can focus on using magic like a red mage or a white mage or black mage. There's so much here, and with that quick switching multiple different classes and different abilities, it makes for really, really rewarding gameplay. It really feels super different compared to a lot of action and adventure games released this year. Was it a little unpolished? Did it have some rough edges? Yeah, but Team Ninja always stuck by it and polished up the edges. So at this point, diving into it on PS4, or specifically like even the PS5 version, is gorgeous. It's a really, really solid action game offering. And especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan, this recent one is just, it's so unique. It's something you just gotta try for yourself. Even after listening to this description, even if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you gotta jump in yourself and see. So those are some of the best underrated games on PS5 that we recommend you try. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.